I'm Nick in New York for the Anti-Gravity Room. You know, you've got the comic, so now get the t-shirts, the action figures, the school supplies, the underwear.
I'm Asna, guest hosting in beautiful LA. And of course, we're talking about merchandising.
And much more on the Anti-Gravity Room.
I'm here at the Comic Kid in the San Fernando Valley, and as you can see, there's a whole line of products to go along with your favorite comic or favorite movie. Some of it's great, some of it's not so hot. It's up to you to decide if it's worth your hard-earned cash. Most of this stuff debuts every year at the New York Toy Fair, and Phil and Nick were there to check it out.
Spidey, as you know, is a #1 show, still #1, X-Men #2, so it tells you Marvel is power.
Now, what do you guys do at Toy Biz to enhance the collectability of these figures?
Well, the trick is very simple. Keep it fresh. Every 4 or 5 months, there's something new. And what you saw 5 months ago, odds are you cannot get, at least not for the retail price you paid before.
Yeah, I know. Shopping at the Walmart. Are you particularly excited about this line? Is there a certain...
Oh, yeah. This is fantastic. Look at this. I mean, it's incredible. If you don't know what it is, you're going to start looking and reading, try and figure out what it is. It appeals to all of us, from a young child to an old guy like me who is into Marvel and collect Marvel. So if we present it properly, the kids fall in love, and the parents are looking at it and saying, wow, hey, the Hulk is back, and all this nice and warm and fuzzy feeling that we had growing up into the Marvel Universe come back, because our universe is interesting, is story-driven, character-driven.
Now, how big a job is it for you to push these lines out, to let us know about them? I mean, what do you do?
We do very good advertising. There is a younger generation that is coming into Marvel, that is starting to understand our universes. Today you talk to a 6-year-old, it's amazing. They can explain to you what are mutants, explain to you what is a philosophy, what is Professor X versus Magneto.
I've been waiting for Age of the Apocalypse for the longest time.
Age of Apocalypse was such a huge phenomenon that we now can absolutely sub-segment our universe. You and I know how fast these things will go.
Yes, of course.
The key for this universe to do what we are doing is its possibility and detail. Again, detail, this is the key. Look at these mutations. I mean, this is incredible. But there is an axiom in the business that says boys will be boys, girls will be girls. So for girls, we sell dolls. For boys, we'll sell action figures. It's changing, because what we are doing for girls in our universe, we have strong women. We are getting phone calls. We want more girls, more girls.
What's in the future for Toy Biz?
I think you're going to see a really, really interesting rendition of Silver Surfer.
And we'll go back to the toy fair a little bit later, but first in the comic book field. It's up to these guys at merchandising departments to decide what goodies to make.
In 1923, Hasbro started out as a textile manufacturer, and then in the late 30s, they moved into toy manufacturing. And in doing that, they become one of the largest manufacturers in the world.
Hasbro's divided into 3 main categories. We have Kenner, Play School, and Milton Bradley and Parker Brothers. Kenner represents boys and girls toys, and of course Play School are well-known Play School products for preschoolers, and did it again. And our Milton Bradley and Parker Brothers, of course, are puzzles and games. Most of the licensing agreements can be found in both Kenner and Activities.
And just to let you know, licensing is actually... Licensing is the legal right to use a name, such as Batman or Superman, so that nobody can just walk in off the street and use those names. The licensing can start from comic books, such as Superman, off the comic book in the 40s. Fleischer started his comic book, and that was, it's now moving into figures that we released late last year. And also we have Batman Legends. Yes!
Yeah, but it works the other way, too. G.I. Joe was introduced in the 1960s. 1980s, it made its way as a comic book. I think our best sellers have definitely been Batman,
which was #1 in Canada.
Yep. Jurassic Park, and of course Ghostbusters everyone remembers.
And of course, we can't forget Star Wars, which originally sold $1 billion in retail sales.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
May the force be with you.
The difference between today's action figures and figures from years ago is these are a lot more sculpted with a lot more design, and of course, like G.I. Joe and Superman, a lot more buff.
Just like you, Kev.
So she thinks I'm not buffed, eh? Oh.
One of the biggest splashes in the action figure market lately is the line of toys based on Image Comics. Todd McFarlane is the man behind these figures, which could definitely beat the stuffing out of the Power Rangers.
Spawn is America's #1 comic book thanks to you. So I started this company to make the toys that you asked for.
Spawn, Violator.
I hear the competition's flying around. They could be any place.
Check it, I'm with Todd McFarlane in the hockey jersey.
Hey, how's it going?
Great Canadian sport.
Bad.
When you started Spawn, did you think it would become this successful?
My goals really are just to survive and be able to do it. You know, people said I couldn't make my own comic, and they said I couldn't make my own toys, and they said I couldn't, you know, cut my own deals in Hollywood and write my own contracts and stuff like that. So to me, the victories aren't so much how many units you sell or how big it gets, but that you're still alive to just do it.
How did you start McFarlane Toys?
I started making phone calls saying, I'm starting a toy company, and we had our first meeting 3 weeks later. 2 months after that, we were at our very first toy fair, and a couple months after that, we had toys on the shelf at every single major, you know, store across the country.
They're cool, awesome. Tremor, Overkill, Medieval Spawn,
And they come with comics.
Nice toys, kids.
Now, how would you compare running the comic end of things to the toy end of things?
You get your orders, you print it, you do the book, you're done, everybody's happy. This business here, see, the one thing about making decisions when you're mad is you don't really think about it. So, like, I got mad, I'm starting a toy company, and then afterwards, I start dealing with factories overseas, importing and exporting. I got to deal with safety standards, I got to deal with insurance, I got to deal with all the buyers, I got to deal with the politics. I'm like, I just want to make toys. And, you know, to me, I just think you make good-looking toys. Forget that there's comic books, forget there's video games or movies coming out. I just think you make good-looking toys, because this is the toy business. Kids will buy them.
The thing is, you've almost single-handedly, like, brought the action figure market to a certain level. What do you think of that? I mean, you're getting awards, and they are the best-looking figs out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, because I'm small and my bottom line is, you know, is a lot shorter than other people, I can afford to put more money into the figures.
Well, Todd, man, I think you are doing a lot more than you think you're doing, man. Keep it up, brother.
Sound like my mom. Thanks.
It's great making the toys that you want. So great, I made some for myself.
Spawn from Todd Toys. We're out to blast the competition.
So that brings to mind the question, which comics do you think should be figurified?
Well, I think that an action figure should be made out of any comic book that's accomplished at least 35 issues. So if they've made it that far, then they probably deserve to have an action figure made of that comic book.
The perfect action figure to make? Newt Gingrich with optional family value. Oh, you mean he's not a cartoon character?
After this, Phil checks out some video games, we check out comic news and have a look at the molds for one of the new anti-gravity room action figures, Extreme Phil.
All right, I am at Alternate Gravity in busy downtown Toronto, Comics and Games. And I'm going to be going back way to the beginning of the Sony PlayStation's roots and looking at a fighting game called Battle Arena Toshinden. It's a 3D fighting game, much like Virtua Fighter and Virtua Fighter 2. I'll go through the good points of this game. Great graphics. Another interesting concept in this game is that it's not only head-on fighting, but you can go sideways and come in and kind of fight the player from behind. What I didn't like about this game is, first off, I don't like fighting games with weapons. Secondly, there's a control configure option that you can put in the special moves right on the front buttons here, which makes it totally boring. And thirdly, I didn't feel like there were enough characters. There are a lot of characters, but it just didn't seem like they had a good variety. Compare it to Tekken, compare it to Virtua Fighter 2, and even though like Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat 3, it just didn't do much for me. We'll have to wait for Battle Arena Toshinden 2. Hopefully that'll be much better. Battle Arena Toshinden, one of the first fighting games for Sony PlayStation, 2 Gs out of 5.
In June, the Marvel and Image universes collide. Look for Gen 13, Generation X, X-Men, Wildcats, and Bad Rock Spider-Man. Mutant Chronicles, Golgotha, a series of comics based on the popular role-playing game. And coming soon, a live-action motion picture. And tonight's final story, this month, the much-anticipated Sandman 75 arrives. Written by Neil Gaiman and drawn by Charles Best.
My name is Denny O'Neill, and I'm currently a group editor and sometime writer at DC Comics in New York City. My primary concern is Batman and his friends. I got started 30 years ago when, as a newspaper reporter on a small daily in southeastern Missouri, I wrote a series of articles about the resurgence of comic books. Comic books were just coming back at the time after having been in virtual oblivion for about 10 years. That led to Stan Lee at Marvel Comics here in New York offering me a job as an editorial assistant. It seemed like too goofy a chance to pass up, to go to New York and work in comic books, which I thought I'd do for about a year, get some stories to tell, and go back to the small paper in southeastern Missouri. Haven't quite gotten back to the paper yet. The best advice I can give a young person who wants to be either an artist or a writer in comics is to stop reading comics.
No food, no water. What comics would you like on a desert island?
If I were trapped on a desert island, the 3 comic books I'd have to have with me would be Web of Spider-Man Annual number 2. That was my first exposure to Arthur Adams' work, one of my favorite artists. Justice League Quarterly number 1, which is quite a funny story by Keith Giffen and great art by Chris Sprouse. And any issue of The Tick, and you can check out Saturday mornings to find out why I'd want one of those.
Stick around, because after this we've got Comicopia and Maximum Action Built Figure with Kung Fu Grip. Hey fellow comic lovers, I'm Nick in Times Square, New York, bringing you Comicopia, my weekly 150 seconds of chaos with the latest comics. This week we're kicking things off with a milestone in Flash history in issue 112. This time, we are introduced to a totally new Flash from the future, as he fights alongside XS, who's from the future, and Impulse, who's from the future. The new look is probably the coolest looking Flash ever, and Mark Waid is a superb writer. But what's with all this future stuff? Ever since that whole 0 Hour thing, it's been nothing but Flash clones coming back to our time and looking at microwaves funny. Enough already. This issue also features one of the best Flash artists ever, Anthony Castrillo, whose art is simple yet intricate. I hope they keep him on as the regular artist for a long, long time. Despite the overuse of the future past genre, I still can't ignore the screams of my inner fanboy yelling, "This is cool, man." So I must give this book 4.5 out of 5 Gs on the anti-gravity scale. Next up, an interesting little independent book called Palookaville, number 8. The first thing you notice when you pick up this book is its visual kinship to a Roy Lichtenstein painting. The story involves 2 regular middle-aged Joes as they watch fireworks and deal with breaking up with their girlfriends. The writing is very relaxed and conversational, almost like Seinfeld. Although the dialogue is realistic, the plot just doesn't seem to go anywhere. And I mean, what's the deal with that? Palookaville, the comic about nothing, is at your local retailer now, and I give it 3 out of 5 Gs on the anti-gravity scale. Next up, Nix, if you don't buy this comic, you're a loser book of the week, Death, the Time of Your Life, number 1. It's almost a little scary when 2 mammoths of power like Neil Gaiman and Chris Bachalo combine creative forces. Both have proven themselves to be comic geniuses, respectively, in Sandman and Generation X. Together, they have created a beautiful monster of a comic. Death, the Time of Your Life, follows a rapidly rising singer named Foxglove, who's already sick of stardom. Little bummer alert, Death doesn't even make her appearance until the last panel. But man, when she does, it's worth it. And while we're on the subject, could Chris Bachalo draw children any cuter? In the end, we get a teaser that Foxglove's producer is some kind of godlike being, but we're not sure if he's from heaven or hell. Either way, it ain't good for Foxglove. Whether you're into Vertigo comics or not, this book is quite a page-turner, and I give it 4.7 Gs on the anti-gravity scale. Well, I guess that's about it for Comicopia this week. See you next time. Taxi!
Is it important to an independent comic book to have merchandise?
T-shirts are natural, and I found a guy that did coffee mugs, so I started doing coffee mugs. I'd find different weird little things that I wanted to do. I did a sponge, I've done a patch, I did a zipper lighter with a group of people. Some of the stuff I make money on, and some of it I just hit a break-even point with. The sponges I lost money on. Worst comes to worst, and I'm stuck with a bunch. I'll use them.
Alliance Multimedia is responsible for a ton of TV merchandising, like Reboot and the new Transformers. Steve Denner is the man in charge.
I run Alliance Multimedia, which is the division that looks after Mainframe, the studio where we make Reboot, our music publishing division, and of course merchandising and licensing. We have about 80 licensing agreements, which include things like the video, puzzles, bed sheets. Here's how this business works. We own the rights to the underlying property. That includes all merchandising and licensing rights, as well as television and feature film rights. We appoint agents in different territories. So we'll have an agent in the U.S. who is in the business of going around to different companies. He has relationships with companies that make games, toys, T-shirts. And he will go to them and present our property to them and convince them that they should buy a license from us to manufacture some product. So they pay us for the right to manufacture a product with our characters depicted on it. Books. If you're hungry, Megabyte biscuits, T-shirts, play sets, a lunchbox. It's almost impossible to go into a toy store and find a toy that doesn't relate in some way to a television show or a movie or a comic book. But more and more you're seeing people start to create things thinking that there will be some kind of merchandising and licensing opportunity. The action figures, there's Bob, there's Hexadecimal, a knapsack, running shoes. If you have a hit television series, then it will drive your merchandising and licensing product, the toy line, the games, etc., and you can make sales at retail that are far in excess of what you would have made just from making the television show. Pajamas, coloring books, and a whole load more stuff here in the box that I just can't get to.
Recently in New York, a release party was held for Atomic Angels, the new comic from Billy Tucci, also known as the man behind the red-hot independent comic She. Phil was there, and he didn't get kicked out until he threw buns at Stan Lee.
Billy Tucci, and I'm the president of Crusade Entertainment. We are a little publishing company out of New York City, not quite 2 years old, but through the help of a few good friends and my family and the retailers and the fans, we've sold over 1.4 million comic books in the past year. What I want to do with Atomic Angels is really to have a new book out there, a new breakthrough in entertainment, which is really a focus on hope and enlightenment and where heroes, how heroes used to be. A time ago that when we were kids, how we all read books about knights in shining armor and Joan of Arc and Indiana Jones, and it seems to be gone now.
All right, Billy, where'd you get the idea to throw the party? Well, I thought about the Harley Davidson Cafe, but then people have done that before. And then I was riding down the West Side Highway one night listening to the soundtrack of the Superman, and I saw this ship. Yeah. And I just said, my God, why don't we have a party on the USS Intrepid? Now, was there a theme tying together with the Atomic Angels release? Yes, the Atomic Angels are actually based in the belly of the Intrepid. This is a black and white preview of it. We even have a surprise character from another well-known comic book. Her name is Freefall from Gen 13. we're going to give it a good advertising push because I think it's something that it needs. It's about hope and fun, and what comic books are all about is having fun. Like Stan Lee had said, it's modern-day mythology, and I think we're going to take that a step beyond.
Coming up next is mailbag time, but first check out the new anti-gravity room sweepers and porcelain dolls.
Here's a rather angry letter from Heather Dawn, who tells us we forgot a major part in the topic of rock and roll in comics in a recent episode, that being rock and roll comics by Revolutionary. Well, fret not, because we will be revisiting this topic in a future episode called Rock and Roll Comics 2. We'll be talking to Kiss, hopefully, and checking out the new heavy metal movie. So let's all be like little Fonzies. And what's the Fonzie like? He's cool. That's right. We're all gonna be cool.
And we had a few people who missed writing down the address for our Alien Defense Corporation, Schwa. So if you're one of them, go grab a pen. All right, here it comes for all your alien-y info. And this week's poll question is the Spider-Man clone story. Did you like it or did you hate it? So that's our show, and remember the anti-gravity room dustpan for all your cleanup needs.
That's right, order now and receive a lovely anti-gravity steak knife and a collector's commemorative plate. Operators are standing by.
The Guyver is back, hitting the streets for more high-kicking, fist-flying, bone-crunching action. Bring on the mutants and let the games begin. The Guyver 2 Dark Hero, a Sci-Fi Channel premiere feature, today at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, Sci-Fi Sunday. Crash the party celebrating the world's greatest horror writers. Plus Jurassic Park The Ride, Sci-Fi Buzz, next.